Slight glimmer of hope tonight for people trapped in Gaza. Israel and the Egyptian president are both allowing limited amounts of humanitarian aid to Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip. Thanks for joining us. I'm Russ McCaskey.
And I'm Amanda Hall. These announcements come after a request from President Joe Biden, who made a rare visit to the U.S. ally as it fights Hamas in the wake of the Palestinian terror group's brutal attacks. During his visit today, President Biden said the hospital bombing yesterday was fired by Gaza.
Greatly as well. We mourn the loss of innocent Palestinian lives like the entire world. I was outraged and saddened by the enormous loss of life yesterday in the hospital in Gaza. Based on the information we've seen to date, it appears the result of an errant rocket fired by a terrorist group in Gaza.
The president also announced $100 million in humanitarian aid is going to Gaza and the West Bank.
Now, people have some mixed feelings about the aid. Governor Ron DeSantis is not happy about it.
Joe Biden just announced $100 million of your taxpayer dollars going to the Gaza Strip. They say it's humanitarian assistance. We know Hamas is going to commandeer that money, and Hamas is going to use it to advance terrorism. I say no U.S. tax dollars to the Gaza Strip. We still have hostages being held by Hamas. There are American hostages being held by Hamas. How are you funding them when they're holding Americans as well as others hostage? I challenge every Republican running.
Yeah, the governor went on to say that he does challenge every Republican running to join him in opposing what he calls Biden's $100 million gift to Hamas.
The Night Beat's Justin Case joins us in our newsroom. Justin, at this point, even local lawmakers are beginning to fear that we won't be able to get Americans out of Gaza.
That's right. In an interview with Wink News today, Congressman Greg Steube says he fears Americans trapped in Gaza or being held hostage by Hamas may not be able to escape under the current administration. He said he also fears that humanitarian aid sent to help the people in Palestine will end up in the hands of terrorist groups. Now, the topic of humanitarian aid is also a contentious issue among people in Southwest Florida. On one side, the Biden administration says the $100 million in humanitarian aid will help the Palestinian people, saying civilians are not to blame and their lives must be protected. Governor Ron DeSantis fired back, saying the taxpayer dollars are going to be commandeered by Hamas and used to advance terrorism. Listen to how people in Southwest Florida feel about the pledged humanitarian aid.
If I believed that they would get the humanitarian aid and Hamas wouldn't steal it, I'd be all for it.
I'm all for it, and especially if it's going to the Palestinians, who I think have had a very raw deal the whole time.
I'm with DeSantis. Don't send any money. It goes to weapons.
This is how Congressman Greg Steube feels about the humanitarian aid to Palestine.
Palestinians support Hamas. That money goes to Hamas. So now we're going to be funding both sides of this war. I think is a huge foreign policy mistake.
The tension on the matter also felt in the Capitol as protesters gathered in support of the people of Palestine, chanting, "Let Gaza live." The announcement of the humanitarian assistance comes at a time when Americans are still trapped in Gaza or being held hostage by Hamas. That means families like Emily Rauschenberger, who we introduced to you last week, may be stranded in Gaza. Wink News spoke with Emily's dad, John, who lives in Bonita Springs. He said he did not want to react to the congressman. Congressman Steube was asked by Wink News reporter Claire Galt if he thinks people like Emily have any hope of getting out.
Not under this current administration in the way that they're operating.
And the Biden administration says the current humanitarian aid will help the more than 1 million people who have been displaced or affected by the war by providing people with clean water, food, hygiene support, medical care, and other essential needs. And the president says if Hamas confiscates the aid, it will end. Back to you.
Hi, Justin. Thanks.